Hi everyone, welcome to Storytime with Cam. I am going to tell you the story of Finn and the Goblin, which is nicely illustrated here in the Greatness and Legends book from the 1984 Childcraft Annual, a book that I grew up reading when I was homeschooled when I was many moons younger. I hope you like this Irish folktale. I don't know all that much about Irish mythology, but Irish folktales and almost any folktale is really cool. Let's go ahead and start. Cumhail Bosna was chief of Clan Bosna. He was a tall, sturdy, blonde-haired man, and he was a mighty warrior. He was the captain of the Fianna, and from the army of the High King. The Fianna was made up of the best warriors in all Iriu. Iriu is named after the sun goddess of the Celts. So, fun tidbit. There were many people who were proud of him for this high honor from his clan Bosna, and then there were many people who hated him. They were from Clan Morna, so they were family enemies, and they thought that one of their own should be the leader or the captain of the Fianna, the army of the High King. So, through tricks, lies, treachery, and cunning, they tried to get rid of Cumhail. Great grew the hatred between the two clans. Finally, it was so great, the hatred that is, that it exploded into war. On a fresh spring morning, the men of the two clans met in battle. The air shivered with the hiss of hurtled spears, the click and clash and clatter of swords, and the screams of wounded and dying men. In the end, Clan Bosna was defeated. Many of their greatest warriors lay dead upon the ground, and one of them was Cumhail himself. The warriors who had not been killed fled and went into hiding to save their lives, and only the women of Clan Bosna were left. They were grieving for their husbands, fathers, brothers, or sons. Word of Cumhail's death was brought to his wife, Myrna, and she wrapped herself in a cloak and she fled into the vast, shadowy green forest of Sliev Bloom. She knew the sons of Morna would soon seek for the end of her life with spears, because they wanted to wipe out all of Cumhail's family and any chance that anyone would have to take revenge on him. With tears of grief flowing from her eyes, Myrna wandered for a time through the wildwood. There, in the depths of the forest, she gave birth to a baby boy, Cumhail's son. She named him Demna. She knew that if those Morna warriors were to find her now, they would slay both her and her baby, and he wasn't safe as long as he was with her. Hidden away in the woods was a little cottage in which dwelt two wise women named Bovmal and Leah Luachra. Bovmal was the sister of the dead Cumhail and thus was the baby's aunt. So Morna went to Bovmal and Leah. "If the sons of Morna learn that this baby is Cumhail's son, they will kill him," she told the two. "I beg of ye, hide him here. Let no one know who he is." "Fear not, sister-in-law," said Bovmal. "The child and his secret are safe with us." So Demna grew up in the woods, reared by Bovmal and Leah. The forest creatures were his only playmates, and he learned from them. The squirrels taught him how to scamper up a tree as fast as an eye might blink. The rabbits in the glades showed him how to leap and dodge in a way that might save his life. The fish in the forest ponds taught him how to swim, and from the deer of the woods he learned how to run so swiftly that the very wind was left behind. As he grew older, he learned other things. Demna, that is. Bovmal and Leah sent him away for a time to live with a man named Fiaquil Macona. Fiaquil had been his father's comrade in arms and conveniently one of the greatest warriors in Clan Bosna. He had been hiding in the forest since the day of the dreadful battle. Now he taught Demna how to cast a spear so that it never missed its target, and how to swing a sword so as to cut through the stoutest shield. So Demna became a skilled warrior. He wandered far and wide through the forest, and sometimes he would reach the very edge where the tiny villages lay. He would often steal into a village to play with children, and that was how he got his new name. Because of his light blonde hair and pale skin, the children called him Fionn, which means fair or blonde. All that while Fionn or Finn was growing up, he was in great danger because the men of Clan Morna, the family enemies, had learned he was alive and they were searching for him. They didn't know where he was, but they would slay him if they found out. Finally, when he was fully grown, he felt he was ready to become the thing that he wanted to be all his life, the captain of the Fianna, as was his father before him. He would set out for Tara, where the High King dwelt. Somehow he would get the High King to name him Captain of the Fianna. But first, there was something that he knew he needed. He was the swiftest of runners, the highest of leapers, the best of swimmers. He was as strong as two men and feared nothing, and he was skilled in every type of fighting with every kind of weapon. But he knew he also needed wisdom. So he said his farewells to both Mal and Leah and set out for the River Boyne, where dwelt a famous wise man and poet by the name of Finnegas. Finn found Finnegas living in a little hut on the riverbank. The young man bowed. "Master," he said, "I will keep your house cleaned and swept, chop your firewood, cook your meals, and do all else needed, if I may stay here and learn from you." The old man smiled. "Stay," he invited. "What is your name?" Finn felt it was better not to let the old man know that he was Finn McCool. He thought the men of Clan Morna might somehow learn he was here and come to kill him. He wasn't afraid of them, but he feared for the old Finnegas that might possibly be hurt if there was a battle. "My name is Demna," he said. From that time on, Finnegas taught young Finn many things. He introduced him to the magic of poetry and the charm of music. He showed him the making of riddles and the solving of them. Each day, Finn's mind grew in knowledge and understanding. "Why do you stay beside this river, master, when there are so many finer rivers in this land?" he asked one day. "In this river swims the fish that is known as the salmon of all knowledge," Finnegas told him. "Whosoever eats that fish shall gain all the knowledge of the world. I stay here because it has been foretold that someday I will catch the salmon of all knowledge." "I hope and pray that you will catch it when I am with you," exclaimed Finn. "Perhaps I shall," said Finnegas. "Perhaps I shall." Days, weeks, and months went by. Then one day, Finnegas went out fishing, and Finn heard him call out. The young man went to see what had happened. He found Finnegas sitting with a basket. In his lap, he caught a large orange and gold fish. "I have caught it," said Finnegas in a low, solemn voice. "I have caught the salmon of all knowledge." Finn let out a shout and a leap for joy. He was delighted that his old teacher would now be able to gain all the knowledge in the world. "I shall cook it for you," he said. As Finn cooked the salmon of all knowledge, he thought of how wonderful it would be that his teacher would have all the knowledge in the world. When the fish was done, he placed it before Finnegas. "Have you eaten of it?" asked Finnegas. "No," replied Finn. "It is yours to eat. I did have but a taste. A blister formed while the fish was cooking, and I pushed it down with my thumb. It was hot, so it burned me, and I popped my thumb into my mouth to make it feel better. But my, did it taste good. You will know how good when you taste it." Finnegas looked at Finn and smiled. "There are two things I know to be true," said Finnegas. "One is that I shall never eat the salmon of all knowledge, and the other is that your name is not Demna. Your name is Finn McCool." "How can you know that?" cried Finn in great surprise. "It was foretold that I would catch the salmon of all knowledge, and that a man named Finn McCool would eat the salmon. Since only you and I are here to eat the fish, I know that your name must be Finn McCool. The fish is yours to eat." "Let us share it," said Finn. But Finnegas shook his head. "The fish is for you alone." So Finn ate the salmon of all knowledge, and with each bite, he felt his knowledge grow. Now he knew why the stars shine and why the wind blows. He knew he could do great deeds of magic. He could make mighty and marvelous poems. He could compose awesomely beautiful music. And together with all these new things, he was still the fastest runner, the strongest man, and the most skillful warrior. Now he was truly ready to go to Tara and see the High King. The next day, Finn made his farewells to Finnegas and set out. He set out to Tara and came to Tara, the city of the High King, near sunset on Samhain Eve, which is now called Halloween. He went to the High King's great hall and entered. A huge feast was in progress and so much celebration. Everyone was welcome and all the greatest warriors came to the feast. Finn found an empty place at the table and sat down. Samhain Eve was a very special time. It was a time when magic was at its strongest and strange things might happen. During the hours of darkness that followed sunset, the fairy mounds opened, allowing all kinds of evil creatures from the underworld, goblins, ghosts, and monsters to walk the land. Finn walked in and he looked at the king, whose name was Khan of the 100 Battles, who sat grim and silent. Finally, Khan stood up. The noise and laughter and loud talk stopped as the man listened to hear what the High King had to say. "Warriors of the Fianna," said Khan, "my wizards have given me grim and dreadful tidings. This night an evil creature from the land of darkness will come to destroy Tara. Aelin is its name, and it has the power to make men sleep so they cannot fight against it. It has the power to hurl spears of fire that will set Tara ablaze." He looked around at all his warriors. "Is there any man here who will defend Tara against this dreadful doom?" The men all looked at each other, and they hung their heads with shame, because none of them felt able to fight against this magical creature that could put men to sleep and hurl darts of fire. But then one man stood up. It was our man, Finn McCool. "What reward would be given to the man who defends Tara from this evil one?" he asked. "Whatever reward the man wants, I swear it will be given to him," answered Khan. "I will defend Tara," said Finn. "What is your name?" asked the High King. "I am Finn, son of Kumail of Clan Boskna," said Finn. A group of richly dressed men seated at a table near the king turned to stare when Finn said his name, and Finn knew they had to be from Clan Morna, the family enemies. "You are the son of an old friend," said the High King. "I welcome ye, and I thank ye." Then Finn turned and left the hall, for the sun had set and Aelin, the evil monster, would soon appear. Finn walked through the city as he passed out of the gate and was beyond the walls. There he stopped and faced north, because in his newfound wisdom, he knew that was the direction from which Aelin would come. He had carried no weapon because he knew that no ordinary weapon would be of any use against the dreadful Aelin. Having eaten the salmon of all knowledge, Finn also knew that someone was going to give him a very special weapon before too long. He heard footsteps suddenly coming towards him. Turning, he saw that it was his father's old comrade, Fiaquil, the one who had taught him how to use both spear and sword. Fiaquil carried a spear. The point was wrapped in a leather bag that covered it completely. "Finn," said Fiaquil, "I bring you a weapon to use against Aelin. It is a weapon that your father himself captured from the land of darkness, from where Aelin comes. It is called the poisonous plant." Finn knew that a weapon from the land of darkness would be deadly and magical indeed. "Let me tell you how the poisonous plant can help you. When Aelin comes, you will hear a harp playing the sweetest music you've ever heard. This is how he casts his spells of sleep. When drowsiness begins to steal over you, take the bag off from the spear's head. The sight, the sound, and the smell of the poisonous plant will keep you awake." "I thank you, Fiaquil, man of Boskna, in my name and in my father's name," said Finn. The old warrior bowed, and he turned and made his way back into Tara. No sooner had Fiaquil left than Finn heard the notes of the magic harp. The night was as black as the blackest thing on earth, but moving in the north was a shape that was even blacker. The only sound he heard was the sweet harp sound. But both the air and the earth shook from the force of the huge, heavy footsteps of Aelin. Surely, slowly, the dreadful monster strode toward Tara. Suddenly, Finn felt drowsiness stealing over him. At once, he untied the cords that held the bag in place of the spearhead, and he pulled off the bag, and the poisonous plant was revealed. It shone like a bright, fiery red glow and made a sound like a shrill scream heard from a distance. A sharp, bitter, poisonous odor poured forth from it. The sight and smell and sound drove the drowsiness from Finn's mind. From the formless black shape of Aelin there came suddenly a bolt of blue fire. It hissed through the air toward Tara like a falling star that races through the night. But Finn McCool had gained the knowledge of the world. He knew how to deal with the magical fire. He lifted his hand. The fire splashed against it and died out in a shower of blue sparks. Aelin froze in astonishment. His spell of slumber should have set everyone in Tara sleeping, yet here stood a man who was wide awake. His bolt of fire should have set Tara ablaze, but it had been snuffed out like a tiny candle flame. Aelin knew that he had met his match, and more fear came over him, and he turned and fled. But he could not outrun the man who had been taught to run by the fleet forest deer. Behind him sped Finn, drawing ever nearer. And in Finn's hand was the terrible poisonous plant. Aelin twisted and dodged, but he could not trick the man who had been taught to leap and dodge by the rabbits of the forest glade. Back went Finn's arm, and with a heave, he hurled the poisonous plant. it went into the body of Aelin and right on through, carrying the monster's life with it. It was sunrise when Finn strode back into the High King's hall. King Khan, and all the warriors were there. They knew Finn had won the battle because Tara had not been burned down and they were all still alive. When Finn entered the hall, they all stood and cheered him, even the men of Clan Morna, the sworn family enemies. "Name your reward, Finn McCool," said the High King. "I wish to be captain of the Fianna as my father was before me," said Finn. "So it shall be," the king said, the High King, rather. And so Finn McCool got his wish and was made captain of the Fianna, and he became the greatest captain the Fianna ever had. Thank you so much for joining me for my story. I hope you'd enjoyed it, and I hope you come back for more entertainment soon. God bless, stay safe, and see you next time.